Good morning, Rock family. Pastor Drew here. I hope you are doing well and staying safe and following all of the instructions that none of us really like right now, but is important for us to obey as we stay home and try to keep everyone healthy so that we'll be able to gather together again one day soon. So looking forward to that day, but in the meantime, I wanted to share with you guys this morning just a little devotional from the book of Luke, chapter 8. So we are studying Luke on Sunday mornings as well, but this is going to be a little preview, a little snippet for you from something that's going to be coming in the months ahead. So let's look together at Luke chapter 8, verses 22 through 25. This verse it tells us an incredible story that I think is really important for us to remember today. It talks about how Jesus calmed the sea. So starting in verse 22, it says, "Now on one of those days, Jesus and his disciples got into a boat, and he said to them, 'Let us go over to the other side of the lake.' So they launched out. But as they were sailing along, he fell asleep, and a fierce gale of wind descended on the lake, and they began to be swamped and to be in danger. They came to Jesus and woke him up, saying, 'Master, Master, we are perishing.' And so he got up and rebuked the wind and the surging waves, and they stopped, and it became calm. He said to them, 'Where is your faith?' They were fearful and amazed, saying to one another, 'Who is this, that he commands even the winds and the water, and they obey him?'" I think this is an interesting story for us to remember and to pause and reflect a little bit on this morning, because we are in what seems like a terribly dangerous and scary situation, just like the disciples were in. If we look at verse 23, it shows that they actually were in a bad situation, what most of us would consider a bad situation. It says that the boat was being swamped and that they began to be in danger. They were at risk of this wind that had come down, the waves and the water and the storm that was around them. It could have brought an end to their boat and potentially brought an end to their lives. So in their fear, in their worry of something that was going on around them, they ran down and they woke Jesus up and said, "Jesus, Jesus." And so Jesus comes up, and in a moment he says, "Stop." And the waves stop, and the wind was calm. In a moment, in a word, in a simple statement, that when Jesus says, "Peace, be still," when Jesus says, "Enough, wind, no more," the wind and the waves halted. I think that's important for us to pause and to consider this morning, and hopefully to be encouraged by this morning, because that is a reminder that the same God who back thousands of years ago was able to hold out his hand and say, "Wind, stop," is able to deal with anything that's going on in our heart, is able to deal with anything that's going on in our life. God, if he desires to say stop, he's able to deal with and stop any problem that we may be facing. That doesn't mean that he always will. That doesn't mean that things are always going to be easy, but it tells us that we can trust that God is always in control, that there's nothing too big for God, that there's no storm that we're going to live through or face. There's no virus or pandemic that we're going to face. There's no conflict in our relationships that we're going to face. There's no sickness that we may face. There is nothing for us to fear, because God is in control. He's sovereign over everything. And so just like we see in this story, Jesus rebukes the disciples and says, "Why did you have such little faith? Why did you doubt, and why did you fear?" In the midst of even this chaotic storm that they were going through, I think what Jesus is trying to tell them in these verses when he says, "Where is your faith?" is, why didn't you come to me? Why didn't you just talk to me and bring me your need? Because I am always able to deal with it. So that's my question for us this morning. Are we going to sit back in the worries of life and approach our day today looking around at the wind and the waves and worrying about what's going on around us? Or are we going to fix our eyes on the Lord, take our concerns, take our fears and our worries to him, and allow him to say, "Peace, be still," in whatever it is that's going on in your life? I hope you will. Look forward to seeing you guys again soon. Love you guys. Bye.